What's up guys, welcome back for another YgoPro Duel video. Monarchs, Mega Monarch, so EHTHER was put back to 3 on our most recent TCG ban list. Sadly, Pantheism is still at 1, but that's how it is, right? So this is currently in the main deck, 40 cards, extra deck Monarchs. I've reviewed Domain Monarchs 2 months ago with our previous list, right? Or at least our current list. So I'll leave a link like somewhere. I probably won't be making too many changes, or hardly none, I guess, other than maybe adding in the third EHTHER to the Domain variant, so that probably will stay the same. The extra deck variant, a couple of decks here in the extra deck, in the side deck, of course, but pretty straightforward, I think. I'm a huge fan of the red layers on their own. Can be a tribute monster, can be tribute fodder like triple Idea, triple Eidos, no Rota, I feel it's a brick, right, but 11 tributes, only 2 Majesty's Fiend, it's a bit iffy, either 3 Majesty's Fiend or 2 Erebus, or the other way around. So 3 Erebus and 2 Fiends. Depends on the matchup. If I'm playing against Thunder Dragons or whatever, you definitely want to slap in that extra side-decked copy of Vanity's Fiend. You need to run double Cuirass because it's the extra deck version, and you know, popping your own return that prevents using your extra deck. The most important extra deck monster being Pleiades. That's why there are 3 here in the extra deck, with of course Pot of Extravagance. It's needed, much better than Allure of Darkness. I'm personally not a fan of Allure. You're only running, in this particular build, only 8 dark targets. So triple Erebus, triple Eidos, and a double, which are the last... Vanity's Fiend, right? Yeah, indeed, Vanity's Fiend. So, there are some options like Danger Darkman, but that doesn't really seem too great. Okay, if your opponent does not discard it, you can special summon it, but again, that doesn't feel optimal. I don't want to run that. And the only card I guess I want to banish off of a possible Allure are extra copies of Eidos in my opening hand, but Allure of Darkness just, you know, causes some awkward situations, like... Let's say if you only have Erebus in your hand, you activate Allure and you have to banish your only Erebus in your hand. So, you know, that just creates a very awkward moment. So again, I'm not a huge fan of Allure of Darkness. Pot of Extravagance is miles ahead, just much better compared to, you know, your Allure of Darkness. I'm a huge fan of Red Layer, as I mentioned before, just because it's so versatile. And, you know, yeah, your Exceed version as well, basically just a level 5 and some extra attack power. So Monarchs into the new format, even though, if, let's say, like... but it won't happen. Let's say Pantheism will come back to 2 and eventually 3, which is at 3 in the OCG Pantheism, and it's not doing anything over there, but let's say Pantheism would come back to 3. Monarchs probably won't be tier 1 because, you know, I mean, it's of course a very good deck, but the thing is that it's so easy to side deck against, and, well, not only side decking, it's just the main deck answers as well. I'm looking at Ash Blossom, I'm looking at Call by the Grave, Impermanence, as you'll be seeing, like those are already 3 cards that are heavily main decked, if not side decked in the current format, and again, as a Monarch player, you definitely want to go first, like normal summon Idea, try to get the extra tribute summon and, you know, to get your engine going. But if your opponent there has like an Ash Blossom or an Impermanence, it's pretty much game over. Well, not always. There are some recoveries now, especially with EHTHER being at 3 and the ability to tribute summon during your opponent's turn with EHTHER, of course, and then Stormfort, as you know. There is the slight chance of you main decking the Escalation, you know, the continuous trap that lets you tribute summon during your opponent's turn, but I'm not a huge fan of that. It's basically, in most situations, it will just be an extra brick or a game, how do you say that, like... a win more card, I guess. It's either a win more or just a huge hard brick, and in most situations you won't be needing it since either you bricked, and that's how it is with only one Pantheism. You bricked, or you need it but you're not drawing, or you can't search it. So let's say your opponent like Impermanences you or Ash Blossoms you first turn on your Idea summon. Well, then you need the Escalation, but again, in like 99% of the situations you won't be having that Escalation. So, long story short, I'm not a huge fan of that. This is cute, one of my personal decks, one of my personal favorite decks here for Monarchs, maybe side deck, not really sure if I want to main deck that, is Ether of Millions, I don't think it's really new, but Ether of Millions again, just send your entire extra deck or banish it, right? Is it face down? Yeah, indeed, I think it's face down. And this way you can make your domain lock live, so that's cool, that's a nifty tech. And on top of that, Ether of Millions can get rid of your opponent's pesky fusion monsters or pesky big beatsticks, as in, let's say, against Thunders, getting rid of the Colossus or Titan, or force out of those cards, at least, right? So I'm a huge fan of Ether of Millions. It might be a main deck spot here, especially because it could make your domain lock live by just sending all of your extra deck monsters to your banished pile. Isolde is good. There were some duels I was playtesting triple red layer, but that's just too much. Two red layer is fine, but red layer and Idea are your two warriors, and that immediately gives you the opportunity to go for your Isolde, right? And Isolde searching on a second copy of red layer, so pretty much setting you up for next turn, you know, to get the red layer loop going. But that's really specific, like, okay, like 1 out of 20 duels that will happen, so I don't want to focus that much on the potential, you know, like using your, what's it called, Isolde, use her effect, sending an equip, special summon Idea from the deck, since I'm not running the Monarch equip, it's in the side deck as you saw, but I prefer autonomous action units. It's a little bit more versatile. Let's say your opponent using Ash Blossom, or you can reborn your opponent's Ash Blossom, and yeah, just the level 3 tuner with your level 5 could potentially open up an Omega play, or a Scarlight play, or a Synchro play, right? So I personally prefer autonomous action unit over the Monarch. Yeah, the Monarch spell, but yeah, it's of course a Monarch spell, so Isolde's effect could send an extra copy of a Monarch spell or trap from your deck to the grave, so that's well, Monarch spell, right? But that's, again, I just prefer autonomous action unit. So double Vanity's Feet, I need to get it on the field ASAP, as soon as possible, but nope, not the case, and too many big beatsticks, and yeah, the draws weren't that great, right? The double Vanity's Fiend. But yeah, anyway, so last example, going first again, this is one of the reasons why I like Pot of Extravagance. It's either a +1, the extra 2 draws, so again 2 extra cards to work with, and for a brick deck like Monarchs, especially with only 1 Pantheism, that's definitely welcome. But most importantly, it's Ash Blossom bait. Your opponent always has the Ash Blossom, like literally always Ash Blossom first turn. So, you know, yeah, they might want to just activate a pot of, you know, yeah, the Ash Blossom on the pot to, well, eventually get your engine going with maybe Idea into Eidos, and then, you know, Erebus, Aether, etc. So this is definitely a solid setup going into the battle phase. I assume that is why I dropped Aether for Cuirass, getting rid of my own return, and yeah, again, very strong here, the potential or threatening with the Pleiades during my turn. Again, very strong against a deck like Thunders, but I'm not really sure if I'm making a small mistake here. Yeah, quite unfortunate drawing an Eidos, and drew the second copy of Cuirass as well. So Titan pops one of the level 5s, that's fine. No Exceed play, but I still have a tribute play ready with Erebus, and maybe I should have bounced back the, what is it called, the is Link monster, since now I'm not going to attack, not wanting to give him like, let's say, what is it called, the wolf from his graveyard back to the hand. But that's, well, I just probably should have attacked over it now, because now he has 2 extra monster zones open, and that's of course a very big problem. But anyway, so I have Stormfort ready for next turn to potentially rip away or rip through his field, and of course with the potential Exceed play ready. If he does not go for the Titan play, and no Titan play, so again he doesn't have an option to get rid of a potential second copy of the Prime Monarch. And Titanic Galaxy is cute, but again, Pleiades just like nukes the powerful extra deck monsters. And Vanity's Fiend, thanks to his Dark Link monster, which gets the extra attack boost needed to attack over Titanic Galaxy, and you know the attack drop kinda lowered the attack from Titanic Galaxy as well. So very cool here. First going for the extra deck summon, and then you know using the banish effect from the Idea Eidos, get the Surge, get the special summon, and the double tribute summon, setting myself up for Aether Stormfort during his turn. And again, this is game over. No, not really sure if there were any like generic Link to a place ready, but again, I had Pleiades, I had the Stormfort Aether play ready, and yeah, especially for next turn, the autonomous action unit was live, depending on what he has in his graveyard. And yeah, Titan is not going to do anything. Pleiades is still live. So, extra deck Monarchs, it's very cool. It has a much higher ceiling compared to the domain version. But if I would go into the tournament, or any tournament, like regionals or YCS, I'd probably go for the domain version, since it's, you know, very straightforward, very easily, and of course the strategy behind this is very easy. Set a domain, and I probably will main deck triple Vanity's Fiend as well. Just let your opponent deal with it. Game number 1, probably, you know, game number 2 and game number 3, they will side deck their hate like Cyclones, maybe more impermanences or whatever, to shut down Vanity's Fiend and the domain lock. But that's where the side deck comes in. I'm a huge fan of attacking in, let's say, Ether of Millions, especially for the extra deck variant, like Artifact Side with Sanctum. Let's say if your opponent impermanences your idea summon, set a Sanctum for side. If you draw side, you can just set it and, you know, use Kuras during your opponent's turn to make your side, Artifact Side live. So there's definitely a lot of options here in the extra, and side deck, yes, side deck indeed. But again, like always, feel free to leave suggestions. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching, and feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. Lithium signing out. Peace.